Hey, Shalom, Akim, Shalom. First thing and foremost, I want to give all praises and glory and honor that's due to you. Howell Bashim, Yahweh Shai, Bashim Kakadash. I want to give double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone and rule well. Blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. Those in the gospel brought up them to the standard of Yahweh Bashim, Yahweh Shai, wherever it may be. This is just a quick lesson through the Spirit. Shows you there's nothing new under the sun. In fact, the gods today that people worship, or that these people worship, including the 2/3 of our people, these gods have been around, or these idols have been around since the beginning of time. All right, well, since at least the beginning of these ancient empires, like the Egyptians, which is the first captivity that we've experienced as a nation, actually where we've become a nation, in Egypt under the dominionship of the Egyptians, which are the Hamites and Pharaoh. You have to understand that we was in Egypt 430 years, but we were slaves for 400 years. After the first Pharaoh died and passed away, that new Pharaoh didn't really recognize Joseph as being pretty much a close, I would say a companion, meaning in status quo with Pharaoh at the time. Okay, I don't mean companion as far as like a family member, anything like that. But basically, he was known in Egypt, and the Lord blessed him. Okay, but under this newfound Pharaoh, we was forced into bondage, and our people, they were sacrificing it to other gods because the Egyptians, in fact, was doing it. Like you got what they call the Feast of Bacchus, which is basically a festival full of freaks, FAGGOTS, and all manners of wickedness. All right. Matter of fact, let's go here real quick. Let's look this up real quick. The Feast of Bacchus. Feast of Bacchus. All right, which it says the Bacchanalia were Roman festivals of Bacchus, the Greco-Roman god of wine, and we know wine represents being, drunkenness, different philosophies, but usually wine that make you a little loose. It says freedom, intoxications, which intoxication goes into basically self-explanatory, full of toxins, okay, and ecstasy, like they have a drug called ecstasy. It says they were based on Greek Dionysia and the mysteries, and probably arrived in Rome in 200 BC via the Greek colonies in southern Italy from Etruria, Rome's northern neighbor. Okay, but you have to understand that these particular gods are just rebirthed back into the planet Earth under different names. Okay, like the Pride celebration or the Pride festival. They're not going to call it the Feast of Bacchus because they call it Pride, but it all goes back into the same deity, which is an idol. It says the Bacchanalia were the Roman equivalent of the Dionysian festivals. The Rosh celebrations honor Bacchus and often including excessive drinking, dancing, and revelry. Where they began as private, exclusive gatherings, they eventually evolved into public, citywide festivals. Okay, private, but now they're celebrated out in the open. Okay, because this is a wicked, satanic kingdom. You see, so this is the reason why you go back into the hold on one second. That's why when you go back into like it says the 15 LGBT Egyptian gods. This has been around since forever. Okay, like everybody made a big ordeal about how good the parade was, the Pride parade was here in Kansas City. People at work was talking about it. You even had a few of the so-called co-workers. They went down there and hosted the event. And I'm like, no, I'm not dealing with that. Y'all have at it. I don't want to deal with. I don't want to be around people, that's partaking in wickedness because of the Most High decides to bring judgment. I don't want to get caught up in it, just being associated or just in the vicinity of it, so to speak. But anyway, it says, while the level of tolerance for the LGBT people in ancient Egypt remains subject to debate, the truth can be found in ostraca, mythology depicted in hieroglyphics, which hieroglyphics, they tell you of a story that's pretty much written. Okay, they show you their particular acts of wickedness and even their historical acts, even the Israelites being part of the hieroglyphs, because this is how the Egyptians recorded their history in some degree. Like even porn even goes back into ancient Egypt. Okay, they have orgies and they have men on a hieroglyphics or on a hieroglyphs in the particular tombs in Egypt, men on men, okay, men on boy, woman on woman. This shit goes back into the ancient. This is nothing new, okay. Though it's more degrading in this time because it's more of a national account. Because at this time, at the known world, you had the land of Canaan, okay, you had the promised land, okay, you had the land of Ham. These were known lands at the time that engaged in wickedness, but never has there ever been a time when this wickedness have engulfed the whole entire earth. Okay, like there's a difference between the known world at that time, which Columbus took over, not Columbus, which Alexander the Great took over the known world at that particular time, which is parts of what they call the Middle East. Okay, but it wasn't the entire planet, because now you got this feast of Bacchus that Esau Edom is trying to basically shove down people's throat in a form of democracy, man. But it goes back to ancient Egypt. So it says mythology depicted in hieroglyphics and history revealed on pyramid walls came from same-sex relationships, existed within cultures, and lore among the Nile. Many scholars today suggested that while all matters of sex were treated as somewhat taboo, intolerance of the you-know-what seemed such a foreign concept that no records show the practice as forbidden. Well, because these rulerships were led by the heathen, for one thing. That's why the scriptures say, learn not the way of the heathen, okay? Because we are not to go after the ways of the heathen, because it leads to a life of destruction and wickedness and debauchery. It says, in addition, several intersex figures were not only recorded but celebrated. Here's a review of the story as well as the other Egyptian deities who fall within the LGBT spectrum. Okay, you have Seth. All right, which says the storm guy, and a lot of those Egyptology, them niggas in Harlem and over there in the East Coast, you so-called black consciousness guys, we know how you feel about your particular deities over there. We know how you feel about Amun-Ra, Osiris, Seth. These are guys that you hold in high regard, when in fact those guys have nothing to do with you, okay, because they're not the God of Israel. And it says the storm god associated with many natural disasters, which that's a lie. Seth was among the more colorful figures of the Egyptian pantheon. It says researcher Mark Butzman says Seth, while married to his sister, that's heathenistic. The law tells you. It says married to his sister, Nephthys, is depicted as engaging in sexual activities with other male deities such as Horus. So all you niggas polite, which you're facing the grape allegations, you through, man. All the shit you talked about, the truth about the Israelites, now look at you. All right, Sarnetta, Bobby Hemmett, all them conscious Negroes. It says sexual activities with other male deities such as Horus. It says Seth is also described as having impotent testicles, and he never had a child. Basically, he couldn't give birth, or basically he couldn't pass seed. It says this may not be a sign of great tolerance in the culture, but Seth was cast in a terribly negative light in many stories because he's a wicked deity. It's none of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. And it says, and while his childbearing siblings Osiris and Isis represents life, he represents the desert. This may indicate but a certain negative sentiment about you-know-what identity. But many stories show that while Seth could be called a villainous figure, his you-know-what was not what made him so. And that's all fucking, this is madness. This is why the Lord has to destroy this place, man. Okay? So this is the book of Ecclesiastes 1, and I'm going to start at verses 9. It says, the thing that have been, it is which shall be, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which should be done. And there's no new thing under the sun. Okay, so everything we're seeing now is already happened, but it's more wicked today. It's more in bulk today. Okay, it's more prominent today than back then. Though they did celebrate these particular festivities, today is recognized as being normal. Okay, to the point these are a protected class of people. It says, is there anything whereof it may be said, see, this is new? It says it have already been of old time, which is before us. Okay, so the same thing with the acts, the wickedness, the gods of the nations. Yahweh Shemi Hawashai, these have been deities that just been recirculated or refreshed throughout the respective empires. Okay, this is the book of Psalms 96 and 5. It says, "For all the gods of the nations are idols." Matter of fact, let's start at verses 1. It says, "O sing unto Yahweh a new song. Sing unto the Lord all the earth," which the new song is this truth. "Sing unto Yahweh and blesses his name. Show forth his salvation from day to day, and declare his glory among the heathens, his wonders among all people." And this is what we're doing, okay? But we have much adversity. But once the kingdom is established, the whole world is going to be full of the knowledge of Yahweh, Bashim Yahweh Shai, and wisdom. It says, "For Yahweh is great and greatly to be praised." It says he is to be feared above all gods, okay? So this wickedness here, the Lord is supposed to be feared above all this shit, man. Look at this. These ain't no gods, man. You can read that in the Baruch, the 6th chapter. These are nothing but idols that people worship. Okay, that's dumb. They can't talk. They can't speak. Okay, and it is true. You do have demonic energy that's associated with these idols, but because you got a left-hand priesthood. But even then, it's only so much that they can do. Okay, it says Horus. Many tales about Seth. Seth focused on his envy of his nephew Horus, the child of Isis and Osiris. It says, "In one of the tales documented well in Richard Parkinson's such and such desire in the Middle Kingdom literature, Horus is either raped or seduced into a sexual encounter. Seth sends to embarrass Horus by showing others Horus was the receptive partner in the act, but Horus gets the upper hand because he secretly captures Seth's semen." Then had his mother Isis feed it back to Seth in his letters. Wow, this is, but you see where the shit comes from. So all you people out there, you so-called liberals that think that you're being brave and, oh well, this is a new way of life. No, it's not. The Egyptians partook in the same madness, man. Okay, you're not doing anything that these ancient heathens did. But the difference with you Jakes is that you're not supposed to be partaking in the ways of the heathen. Okay, you're supposed to be separate. That's what holy mean. That's why the Lord said he chose us among all the nations. But what does Jake do? When you go to these PRIDE parades, you see 60% Jakes, man. Okay, and Esau is the pretty much culprit behind that, but Jake takes it a whole step further. It's like Jake is extra with it. You know, you got Esau that just all out of pocket, but then Jake, he just take it to another whole goddamn level, man. And wonder why we don't deal with the 2/3. They wonder why we look at them with a side eye. Okay, but it says, but Horus gets the upper hand because he secretly captured Seth's semen and had this mother Isis feed it back to Seth with his letters. When the semen is called forth by Seth in an attempt to humiliate Horus, it comes from Seth instead. But interestingly, the tale shows that